So what I wanted to do in this video is share with you a common mistake that I see with a high proportion of amateur golfers that reach out to me for either help with online lessons or come through that door to visit for lessons directly. And it always comes down to the same thing. It's understanding how to sequence the downswing. And so many amateur golfers have a tendency to sort of fire the hips too early, causing them to sort of stand up and cause inconsistency. But when we start to have a bit of a conversation about what should happen, when we tend to make this one alteration, it tends to have quite a big effect quite quickly. And that's why I was keen to share it with you guys as well. And it comes down to the setup position. So what I tend to see with a lot of amateur golfers, they tend to do things like sit down. And the reason why I think golfers do this is to avoid that temptation to stand up. But the problem when you start to sit down is that your hips start to fall too far behind your ankle line, which essentially just means it's impossible to retain these type of angles. And what will happen is that you're going to have more of a tendency to try and stand up. Now, it makes sort of sense though, because if you're a golfer who is hitting it like so, then you'll start to compensate by standing further away. And that will feel quite comfortable. But the problem is all you're doing is just sort of encouraging the bad habit to continue to exist. So what I've been doing a lot with students recently is just making sure that their posture is correct and that they're getting the correct distance away from the golf ball. So what you want to do in your posture is, first of all, you want to try and make sure that you haven't got any excessive sort of pelvic tilt. And the most commonplace thing for all of us, definitely myself included at the moment, is the hips. Okay, so most people tend to sort of stick the bum out, creates too much of an arch this way. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that your pelvis is nice and neutral. The way you're going to do that is get the belt buckle feeling like it's closer up towards the chin. Stand up nice and straight, and then put your hands on the front of your thighs and just sort of gradually reach down towards your knees, but make sure it feels like it's more the upper body. So it's not this type of motion, it's more this type of motion. And then just introduce a subtle amount of knee flex. Now, what will happen with that posture is you just want to kind of get into your golf posture until your arms hang down more vertically. And then all of a sudden, I'm gripping a 6-iron here. So instead of, I would say, a pretty accurate portrayal would be, a lot of golfers tend to stand like this. All of a sudden, you can actually stand closer to the ball, which will feel a little uncomfortable, and we'll explain why. But you can all of a sudden have a much more neutral posture like this. Now, you'll feel closer to the ball. It'll feel uncomfortable. But what this does then, you see, is once you take your backswing position, you'll no longer have a tendency to sort of lose your posture, because it's obviously much easier if you're just standing up taller. And then as you start the downswing, you'll have much more of a desirable effect to want to pull that lead hip back, as opposed to moving the trail hip forward. Because if you move the trail hip forward now, you're going to probably miss it. So it starts to promote a better movement by simply just changing that posture. And those are the sort of simple things that make such a massive difference. And these are the sort of simple things that I can help golfers with online. So if you guys are interested, in the description box below are details about how to get online lessons. But if you're going to experiment with it, just make sure that your posture is good. If your posture's good, then you've got a chance of changing that downswing, which will make a huge difference towards your game. See you guys again really soon.